Welcome to the Rockabye Revenue Podcast with me, Abby Watson. I'm a mum of 4 and a business strategist, and I train people to become hypnobirthing teachers. In the last decade, I've built a thriving baby business that grew beyond my wildest dreams. This podcast is for you if you run a business or dream of running a business in the birth and baby industry. You want to change lives whilst making more money. I'm talking about creating sustainable income whilst being present for the people that matter most. I believe for our baby businesses to have the impact we desire, we must be rewarded. On this podcast, expect me to share actionable strategies without the jargon. I've been where you are. I've built a business while raising 4 little ones, and now I'm here to help you turn your passion into profit while creating the life you've always dreamed of. So let's get started. Hello, lovely one. I hope you're okay. I am here to talk about the 10 lessons that I have had in 10 years of running a business. 10 blooming years. I can't quite believe it. So yeah, it was a full decade ago that I first stepped in to the business world with my very own hypnobirthing business. Now, I was not born to be in business. It was never something that was on like my bucket list, my list of desires to have my own business. I wasn't that person. I know for some people, they've always dreamed of being self-employed and they're just kind of finding the right thing. That was not me. I'd never had any plans to, be self-employed. But as you probably know, it was my need for a more flexible way of working around my children. And it was my absolute passion for helping other expectant parents that led me here, and being self-employed, once I knew about it, made absolute perfect sense. And now, it has been a full decade since I started. When I first set up my business, I was about to turn 30. So I was 29, about to turn 30. And I'm now about to turn 40. Maybe even, if you're listening to this episode slightly after it was released, I'm already 40 on the 5th of March. And a lot has happened in that decade in my own life and certainly in business. Now, I am so grateful to 29-year-old me that took the plunge, I am so grateful that even though I had all the doubt, felt like I'd never be able to do it. Honestly, there were times where I felt that. I'm so glad I did it anyway. I'm so glad that even with all the fear, I did it. And honestly, I can't even believe how amazing it has been. And if you'd have said to that 29-year-old me, like, look, in 10 years' time, your business will be more successful than you can ever imagine. You'll have your own podcast, you'll have trained women across the globe to do what you're doing. You'll be earning way more than you earn in a secondary school. I just wouldn't have believed you, So it has been incredible. And of course, when you've been doing something a while, you learn a lot of lessons. And I certainly have. And I was sat down planning this episode, 10 lessons in 10 years of business, because I want you to benefit from the lessons that I have learned in this decade. I could have written 30 lessons, and I was like contemplating, I'm about to turn 40. Do I do like 40 lessons? I don't know, because literally I could have planned to talk about a lot, okay? But I've pulled out the main 10. And I want you to hear these lessons at whatever stage of business you're at, because I know that I had to learn some of these lessons the hard way, and I don't want that for you. So that's why I'm sharing them. And, maybe there'll be other episodes this year that are like 10 mistakes I've made in my 10 years. Who knows? Let me know. Actually, yes, this is a challenge for you. Please come on over to my Instagram at loveyourbirth_training and let me know what other things you'd like me to talk about reflecting on my decade in business. It could be the worst things that have happened to me in 10 years. It could be the best things. You let me know, because maybe this year there'll be more to come from reflecting on my decade in business. But today, like I said, I've pulled out 10 of the main lessons that I have received, and I really want you to hear them. So let's get started. Number one lesson is that you can never please everyone, and don't ever try, and certainly don't try and convince people. So what do I mean by that? Well, there have been people in my personal life, people in my wider circles, even potential clients that haven't got what I do and have been very much like, sounds like nonsense. They are not pleased with what I am offering and don't get it. And the old me would have absolutely tried to bust a gut to convince them otherwise. I have learned that there will always be people like that, and we're wasting our time trying to convince them when there are so many other people out there that do get it, that are worthy of our time and energy when we are talking about what we do. So yeah, that's my first lesson. That we're not going to please everyone, and that's okay. That's totally okay. And we don't need to take that as a sign that we must spend hours and waste so much energy trying to convince them of something that they have firmly decided. Now, that is not to say that, a skeptical birth partner can never be convinced that actually, hypnobirthing is great. I have certainly convinced a lot of birth partners, but not because I have tried to challenge everything. I have just talked about what I do and been very much like, okay, if they get it, they get it, But I'm talking more about those other people, those people that are close to whatever you say. There will always be people like that, and we don't have to convince them. We do not have to convince them. Lesson number 2, our quirks are our appeal. So often I have felt like I don't fit this industry. I felt like I am a bit of a weirdo within it, as in I've never fit the stereotype. I've always felt a bit, a bit fluffy, a bit regular, a bit not alternative enough. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I need to be more like everybody else. What I have learned is that our quirks, whatever we are like, is absolutely our appeal. If we feel too northern, too silly, too regular, too woo, whatever it may be, too straight to the point, whatever it may be, we should own it. And that will be our superpower. You might have seen me talk about this on social media before, that once upon a time I heard that behind my back people were saying that I was too fluffy. You know, that other people in this industry were like, oh, Abby Watson, yeah, she's nice enough, but she's too fluffy. And I felt like hurt. I was like, I'm not fluffy, you know? I'm of substance and, you know, all this. And then actually I came to realise I am fluffy, you know? Yes, I'm of substance. Yes, I know what I'm talking about. But you know what? I don't take everything seriously. You know, I like to make light of things. I like to be cheerful and have jokes. And, you know, I like to dress super feminine, and, you know, you can't really tell from what I'm wearing today if you're watching on the video instead of the podcast. But, you know, and that's absolutely why some people are gravitated to me rather than the others. So it's owning our quirks and not ever feeling ashamed and leaning into them, because those are our superpowers. Number 3, never discount out of desperation. Many of us have been there. There's a time in our business where we're like, oh my gosh, my bookings feel so low. I've got this course coming up and I need like so many more clients booked onto it. So out of desperation, we're like, right, okay, I'm just going to slash my pricing. I'm going to offer 30% off, and that will mean suddenly I will have all the bookings that I need. I have learned that that does not work. Discounting in response to lack of clients rarely works, because usually lack of clients is not to do with your price. Lack of clients is usually because you've not been seen by enough people. Not enough people actually know that your business exists. It's a visibility problem rather than a price problem. So actually discounting your prices is going to do nothing more than just make you think, oh my gosh, I'm charging next to nothing and still nobody wants it. It's not gonna change the fact that not enough people know about what you're doing, and those that do maybe don't quite understand why it's important to them. So discounting out of desperation does not work, and instead we need to look at how we can get seen by more of the right people and how we can more effectively communicate that what we offer is what they need. That's what we need to do rather than slashing our prices. Number four lesson. There's people out there watching. There's people there needing our services, even if we don't think so. So there has definitely been times in my business where I'm like, I am talking to no one. I've had all the clients I could possibly have, and there's gonna be no one else. And then someone shows up and they're like, oh, I've been following you for a while. And you're like, have you? You know, you don't say that, but inside you're like, really? I didn't know that. Of course we didn't. Because there will often be people lurking, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I'm the biggest lurker of them all. If I am looking at a service, I'm not that person in the comments on their social media like, I'm thinking of doing your course. I'm the lurker, the invisible one, looking and, you know, absorbing their content, listening to their podcast, doing their free taster or whatever. But I'm not being vocal about it. I'm not being very public about it. And we have those people too. Biggest lesson is to always assume there are those people there. Because when we assume that those people are there watching, we really think about how we can help them over the threshold to being that lurker, to being that customer. Okay, so important. Number 5, speak like one person is watching. Write like one person is reading. Deliver that taster, that introduction, like there's one person in that room. What do I mean by that? Well, so often we can show up to social media really bearing in mind that Auntie Sue's a follower, that colleague from work's a follower, and we try and talk to all those people. We create content thinking about those people, when actually we need to be thinking of that one person that needs your service. And when you are writing content, you are writing it directly to that one person. And yeah, like we want more than one person, don't we? But there'll be many, many more people like that person. But if we try and talk to everyone, even if we take our potential clients and we're like, but my potential client might be a bit like this and a bit like that, you know, and we're like trying to talk to all those people. 1, it gets overwhelming and it confuses even us. 2, we kind of vanillaizing. It's not even a word, is it? We are making all our content super vanilla to suit everybody and it's speaking to no one, you know? So if you show up in your marketing, whatever your marketing may be, it might even be in the form of a website, and you are writing that content and you are thinking, I am writing to that one person who is turning up to this website needing my service. What am I writing? My gosh, 1, it makes it so much easier. And 2, it takes out all the overthinking and it takes away a lot of the fear. You know, being bold enough to be invisible, but actually thinking, well, I'm kind of being visible for that one person. It absolutely makes your marketing so much more powerful and makes it easier. All the successful businesses are doing this. They're really thinking about their target market, and we can make it even more powerful by thinking about it being that one person, knowing that person well. Like, yeah, they may be fictional, but thinking like, oh, what's keeping them up at night? What are they worried about? What do they need? You know, when it's one person, it's so much easier. And I have definitely learnt that lesson on my way when at first I tried to talk to everyone, you know? I tried to talk to anyone expecting a baby. And actually, I soon realised that being specific, really being clear on who I'm talking to and imagining it's that one person makes all the difference. Number 6, everything is work-outable. You know, there's so many things in business that we've never done before, but always we can work it out. And I'm not saying working it out might be that we just suddenly are able to magically know how to do it. Working it out might be we do some research. Working it out might be that we ask someone who does know. But everything we can work out. And there's so many things that we are now doing in our business that once upon a time we had no clue on what to do. And now it's nothing. And I think it's actually Marie Forleo that planted that seed for me. And I think she says, yeah, everything is figure-outable. And it so is. Like, take when I decided to start training hypnobirthing teachers, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I've no idea how to get my course accredited. How can I make sure that what I am offering is going to be recognised by other people? I was clueless. I have no idea. I didn't even know what to do to find out. But of course, I did my research. I took a step at a time and I figured it out. I asked people in the know and I figured it out. and everything is. And if we kind of take that approach of, I don't know how to do that, we'll avoid so much that is actually going to really skyrocket our success. When I started this podcast in November, no idea how to do it. No idea how to use the tech that I use to record this. No clue. But I figured it out. And at first I felt like super awkward with it, and I felt like I had to research every button so I didn't do anything wrong. But now it's fairly easy, you know? Everything we can work out. We are capable and we can work it out. And so much of what we do at first starts as completely new to us. But we work it out. And that's absolutely a big lesson that I have had. Number 7, nobody has got it all together. Nobody has got it all together. I was definitely in the camp of thinking that some people were just like superior beings that were able to do things that I wasn't, and they just were naturally confident in their business. And I tell you how I have learned this. I have learned this a lot of the time through working with coaches and mentors. People that I have put on pedestals and being like, oh, she knows her stuff. She's so confident. She knows what she's doing. She's got life and business all sorted out. And then actually realising that these incredible women absolutely also struggle with the same things as me. And also have like huge hurdles in their life, and, also feel that they lack confidence in certain areas and sometimes have to do a lot of pretending, Nobody's got it all together. And that's not because people are being inauthentic. It's because as a business, often we do portray the best version of ourselves. And sometimes if life is feeling super hard and we're having our own confidence blocks and things, we might do a bit of pretending, and that's okay, because let's face it, if we worked in Tesco behind the checkout, we'd also do a bit of pretending. That's life, that's work, So yeah, nobody's got it all together. So we never have to wait to do the big things until we've got it all together, because actually the people that are doing well are the people that don't wait until they've got it all together, because they never will, Big lesson. Number 8. And I made this up. I made this phrase up. It's not a real phrase. But this is a lesson that's been very personal to me, and I hope that you listening, it might help you in some way. Don't eat frogs first, eat chocolate. What am I on about, eh? Well, have you heard that phrase, eat the frog? It's something that people talk about in business, in life, in work. When you're starting on any project, eat the frog first. What do they mean by that? Well, they're basically saying do the hard thing first. Do the thing that you are avoiding first. Do the yucky thing first. Tried that. I blooming tried to eat the frog first. I've tried to eat the frog. I cannot eat the frog. That does not work for me. And if it does not work for you too, here's something that I've learned. Eat the chocolate first. What do I mean by that? We'll start with something that feels really nice. So if you are feeling demotivated, if you are feeling overwhelmed, like you've got a lot to do, don't try and eat the frog, because you're again going to procrastinate and stop doing it, But if you eat the chocolate first, i.e., you do something that feels nice that you need to do, starts the momentum. You've eaten the chocolate, you're ready for the next thing. And that's absolutely what works for me. So if I feel like I've got a list of things to do and I'm like, oh my God, and some of the things on that list I don't want to do, I do not start with those things. I start with the easier things, the nicer things, the things that are going to give me the momentum to keep on going, and I'm going to get to the hard things. Yeah? And I guess there's another lesson in that too. Not everyone's advice works for everyone, you know? So those people that say, eat the frog, that's how you do it, eat the frog. Like, it's okay if that does not work for you. There's other ways, you know? There's other advice. We're not all the same. So yeah, there you go. That is my lesson. Don't eat the frog first, eat the chocolate. It's okay to start with the easier things, the fun things, the nice things, and then it might give you the momentum, the feeling of accomplishment to go on to the other things. So lesson number 9, take your business seriously and others will. How have I learned this? Well, I've learned it the hard way. You know, I have definitely had many years in my business where others in my life have not taken my business seriously. How do I know that? Well, I know that because people have assumed I don't work. They've assumed that my plans can be changed at the last minute. They have said things like, your little business, you know. I've known they don't take my business seriously. And, you know, I've done some big, soul searching on this and realised that one of the reasons people haven't taken my business seriously is because I've not. I've let everything else in the world come before my dreams in my business. I've been the first to hang up my intended work for the day because something else has come up. That I've been like, yeah, of course I can meet you then. When actually I was hoping to get loads of work done so that I'd feel like nice and free, ready for half-term holidays or whatever it might be. When I started talking about my business like it was a big deal, like it's the big deal that it actually is, same with yours, other people also started taking it seriously. And let's face it, how many men start a business and talk about it like it's a big deal? And everyone respects that business. We need to do the same. Take our business seriously and others will also. And finally, number 10, and this is a real specific one to me being like an educator. So when I was teaching hypnobirthing to expectant parents, me as a teacher trainer, me as someone teaching people how to run businesses, this is a big lesson. People know less than you think they know, and make no assumptions on what they already know. And this is absolutely something that I often say to the hypnobirthing teachers that train with me, that let's not overcomplicate things for people, because often they are coming to birth education knowing very little. So the simpler we make it for people, the better. And I have certainly on my business journey made the wrong assumption, assuming because people have had babies before or they've taken an antenatal course that they already know so much. So I've got to kind of really take it up a gear, make it more advanced for them, talk about other things that I wouldn't normally talk about. And actually, the lesson that I have received, certainly in my time as a hypnobirthing teacher, is that even when other people on paper sound like they could have a lot of understanding of birth, they often don't. Even when they've done an antenatal course, often a lot of what you talk about, brand new information. Even when they've had a baby before, it can be easy to assume they know about choices and how to make decisions. Often brand new information. So not assuming that people already have such a lot of prior understanding, and not feeling like you have to almost reinvent your course because you are assuming they know so much. I tell you where I had a big reminder of this lesson. Once when I was teaching a mum-to-be and her birth partner that had already had a baby before, and she was an obstetrician. So I was teaching hypnobirthing to her and her husband. She was an obstetrician, as in she had been working with women birthing their babies for years. So my assumption was, oh my goodness, it's going to be like teaching my mother to suck eggs, or is it grandmother, whatever that phrase is, you know? I'm going to be teaching her stuff she already knows. She's going to be like yawning away thinking, why did I even do this course? And I was overcomplicating it, sitting there, planning my sessions, feeling uncertain, feeling like I needed to change everything and go more advanced. And actually, when I worked with this couple, she knew some things about birth. She knew more than me in terms of some aspects of childbirth. She did not know a lot about physiological childbirth. She did not know a lot about mindset for birth. That's absolutely what I could give her. And I wish I hadn't have spent all those sleepless nights, like, worrying about it, you know? I've also trained people to be hypnobirthing teachers where they've come to my training and they're like, oh, I'm a midwife. I've also been teaching antenatal courses for years. I did hypnobirthing myself. And I'm like, oh my God, like they already know so much. What have I got to offer them? And then absolutely hearing that feedback that, oh my gosh, like I've loved this course. Even as a midwife, even as an antenatal educator, I've learned so much. I know even ways of enhancing what I do in that role too. So not ever assuming that you've got nothing to offer people, you know? And even if people do know a bit about what you're talking about, repetition is magic, you know? Repetition makes things stick. Sometimes people just need to hear it from someone else. And maybe they've heard it many times before, but actually it's never stuck. They've never resonated it. They've never resonated with it in the way that they've resonated with it with the way you've said it. So there you have it, my 10 lessons from a decade in business. And like I said earlier, if you have got some other ideas that I can reflect on in my decade of being in business, things that I could talk about on this podcast, do come over to my Instagram at loveyourbirth_training and give me your ideas. I would love to hear. Now, if you are watching this on YouTube, let me apologise for the lipstick on my teeth. Hey, it's a bit like I was saying earlier. No one's got it all together. And certainly not me. I shall see you next time for another episode of Rockabye Revenue. Have a lovely week and keep changing lives. Bye. Thank you for listening to Rockabye Revenue. I hope this episode has left you with some fresh ideas and bundles of motivation. If you enjoyed this episode, do make sure you click subscribe so you never miss an installment. And if you found this episode useful, I'd love you forever if you leave a 5-star review, helping this podcast reach the ears of more of the helpers in this world. And remember, keep changing lives. See you next time.